So hello and welcome to this quick revision guide for psychology. This revision guide is part of a set of videos designed to help you review and recap some of the core ideas for using GRAVEDS evaluations in psychology. So GRAVEDS will help you in your evaluations of core studies. It'll also help you with your evaluations of psychology research methods. But do remember, as we've said previously, that GRAVEDS is not used to evaluate theories in psychology. So just use these points to help with identifying your strengths and weaknesses within studies and methods. So in this short revision guide, we are going to be looking at the use of ethics. So when it comes to evaluations using ethics, one of the things you need to consider are whether or not the relevant ethical considerations were met in that particular piece of research. When you are looking at this, be careful to apply things like the BPS Code of Conduct 2009 in retrospect. So you need to be quite clear that you're saying, for example, a particular study that might have been done in 1920 would not now meet the ethical requirements because they obviously weren't in place at the time. So you can apply ethics in retrospect, but you do need to make that clear. When you are doing ethical evaluation points, you need to take into account whether the researchers have made full use and given good consideration to things like the BPS Code of Conduct, the APA ethical codes for American research, the HCPC standards for clinical practice, and when it comes to animal experimentation, the Home Office regulations, Scientific Procedures Act, Bateson's Cube, whether the researcher took into account the 3 R's, and so on. So for our first example, we're going to have a look again at Milgram's obedience. It's one of the most well talked about studies in terms of ethics. One of the weaknesses with Milgram's studies and his replications is that he did cause harm and distress to the participants. They demonstrated sweating and nervous laughing. So they were very clearly in distress throughout the procedure. And this would not meet the BPS Code of Ethics in present time. It is worth mentioning, though, for Milgram's study, if you're looking at the ethics, in terms of his competence, he did review the likely outcomes with a number of other top psychologists, and they were under the impression that people would not actually go as far as they did go with the electrocutions. He probably should have stopped after his first few studies when he realised the harm it could cause. So you can balance and discuss the ethical strengths and weaknesses there. Our second example for ethical strengths and weaknesses looks at Pavlov's study of dogs and salivation. So one of the steps in his procedure was that he operated on the digestive system, which was done to prevent food entering the stomach of the dogs, so that they never felt full, in order for them to be more able to salivate. As a result of the operation and the process, quite a few of the dogs actually died. So in terms of current animal ethics, the 3 R's would apply here, especially in terms of reduction of number. Pavlov studied around 32 dogs, and clearly sort of within a few of his replications of his experiment, he would have known that he could classically condition them to salivate to the sound of a metronome. However, Pavlov's dogs would not be covered by the current Home Office regulations, Scientific Procedures Act. So it's worth remembering that this is one of those ones that you would need to evaluate in retrospect. So that brings you to the end of this quick revision guide about the use of GRAVEDS in the evaluation of studies and methods. It'd be useful for you to now review all of the core studies you've learned about across the course and check you're happy with your use of ethics in the strengths and weaknesses that you have given. Once you've done that, have a look at the remaining videos to help recap on some of the other aspects of Graves.